This is Mike with GRETA'S Guns, and today we're going to talk a little bit about optics on your defensive rifles. So everyone always asks what we think that they should put on their rifle, and that's really subjective. It kind of depends on the purpose of the rifle. So you've got inexpensive optics that are semi-easy to break, all the way up to military grade stuff that's near impossible to break, and everything in between. So it really kind of depends where your budget is and what the purpose of the rifle is. Again, we'll kind of start with red dots. You can get stuff from Vortex and Holosun all the way up to Trijicon and Steiner and Leupold. As far as red dots go, it's not super critical as far as optical clarity. You will notice a difference in the dot clarity in a lot of them. The Delta Point Pro tends to be the clearest. Trijicons are also very clear as well, and so are aim points. Holosuns, you start to get a little bit of starburst going. But the biggest thing is, if you're looking for a near indestructible optic, you're going to want to stick to one of the big players. Leupold, Trijicon, mostly Trijicon, and Steiner. Leupolds are a little bit on the weaker side. If you drop your rifle straight on the optic, you may break the glass or bend the housing, whatever it may be. So red dots are generally going to be great for close quarters, up to maybe 200 meters at the most. Nice thing is, most red dots you can stack a magnifier behind it, but now you're kind of starting to bulk everything up, and then you're adding another point of weakness to the build. So we'll move on to LPVOs, which those tend to be the most common right now. Everybody's talking about LPVOs. They all want them. All the big players make them. Even Bushnell's making an inexpensive one now. Leupold, Steiner, Trijicon, Vortex, they're all making LPVOs. And the cool thing with those is you could run it like a red dot. Generally, they go down to 1 power. Some of them will go to 4 power, 6, 8, 10 power. It just depends on which model you get. In an LPVO, most people are going to leave it on the max power. Pretty rarely are you going to run it in 1 power. Even a lot of people run 1 o'clock red dots, which that's okay too, or 1 o'clock iron sights. It's nice to have the flexibility to run your optic similar to a red dot as opposed to a long range optic. But if you need to take a longer shot, 400, 500, 600 meters, it's nice to have that ability. The nice thing with the LPVOs, when you're in 1 power, at least for most of them, in 1 power, your field of view is huge inside the optic. It looks really good in most of them. The only thing, when you're looking at Vortex, Leupold, Steiner, and Trijicon all side by side, Steiner, Trijicon, and Leupold tend to be in the same realm. Leupolds are not going to be probably quite as strong as Steiner and Trijicon, but for the money, they make a super awesome optic, and they're definitely not weak. They're just not as indestructible. Steiner and Trijicon are making stuff that can really take some serious hits and impacts and not lose zero or break the glass. Vortex, obviously, you can get into the more cost-effective stuff, and they do make stuff up to $3-4 grand. When you start to look at Vortex next to the other stuff, you feel like you're stuck inside of a tube. You look like you're looking through a tube. The field of view is not as big. The clarity's not as great. But not to say Vortex is bad. Vortex makes a great optic, but when you're looking at them in comparison, it's hard to move that way unless it's a budget thing. Vortex, you're typically going to be playing with the big boys for way less money, but you're going to lose some features. Then, you've got the tried and true ACOG. So we sell a gajillion of these. We sell a lot of LPVOs and red dots too, but the ACOG is kind of tried and true. That's a basically bulletproof fixed 4 power fiber optic and tritium system. So the cool thing is, as opposed to most red dots and most illuminated LPVOs, there's no batteries in this thing. It uses fiber optics during the day to collect light, and it uses tritium like your night sights to glow at night. The other cool thing is the Marine Corps is using this, and if you get the TA-31F or the RCO, really anything with a chevron, but we mostly use the TA-31F, especially for a 5.56 rifle. The reticle inside of there is essentially set up for hunting humans. It makes it very easy to range a human target. The reticle works from 30 yards all the way to 800 meters, which is beyond 5.56's real effective range, but it'll cook them out there. So if you look at the chevron, there's no bottom on the triangle. The 2 points at the bottom of the triangle are 19 inches at 300 yards. 19 inches is the average width of a man's shoulders. Then below that you have a hash mark for 400, 500, 600, 700, and 800. and each of those hash marks tapered down because they're 19 inches at those ranges. So it's very easy to guesstimate range and engage a target at those distances, and that's why the Marine Corps uses that. So not only is it a basically bulletproof optic, you don't have moving parts in it, you don't have variable magnification, and ranging your target is super easy. And the other nice thing too is you can shoot it with 2 eyes open and use it like a red dot. So once you master the 2 eye open method, which you can do with an LPVO, with a red dot, you know, a 25-30 power optic, we basically try to train always with 2 eyes open with everything. The ACOG is by far the most versatile of all the optics, and it's pretty much bulletproof. If you have any questions about specific optics or want to know the differences between specific models, our contact information is below.